Dr. Allison Wright rubbed her tired eyes and stared at the computer screen. The strange signal pattern appeared again, just like it had for the past 3 nights. This was no random space noise or equipment malfunction. Computer. Run analysis. Sequence 5, she said. The year was 2157. Humans had spread beyond Earth to Mars and Europa, with mining ships scattered through the asteroid belt. The United Earth government kept peace among the planets, though big companies and political groups still fought for power and resources. Allison worked at the Lunar Communication Array, a massive field of radio dishes and sensors on the far side of the moon. Her job was to study languages, especially ones that might come from beyond our solar system. Most people thought her work was a waste of time, until now. The computer beeped. Analysis complete. Pattern contains structured information, consistent with language. Allison's heart raced. After 15 years of searching, she had found it. Proof of intelligent life beyond Earth. Her hands shook as she pressed the communication button. Director Morris, this is Dr. Wright. I need you in the main lab immediately. 30 minutes. Later, the lab was filled with scientists and military officers. Commander Eric Blackwell stood with arms crossed, his face serious as always. The old Mars uprising scar across his cheek seemed to glow under the bright lab lights. "You're certain this is artificial?" he asked. Allison nodded. The pattern repeats exactly every 42.7 minutes. It contains mathematical sequences followed by what appears to be language. This is no natural phenomenon. How far away? Director Morris asked. Based on signal strength and direction, approximately 19 light years. The room grew quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. Humans were not alone in the universe. Senator Paul Mercer arrived the next day. As head of the Interplanetary Relations Committee, he had the authority to decide how Earth would respond. "We should send a reply," Allison argued during the emergency meeting. "I've decoded enough to craft a basic greeting." Commander Blackwell disagreed. "We know nothing about them. Revealing our location could be dangerous." Senator Mercer listened to both sides. His gray hair and calm voice gave him an air of wisdom. "The signal is directed specifically at our solar system. They already know we're here. We will respond, but carefully." 3 months passed. Allison worked day and night to improve communication with the aliens, who called themselves the Zalaxian. Concordat. She learned they were an ancient species with a vast empire spanning hundreds of star systems. "They're sending a diplomatic ship," she told Commander Blackwell one morning. "They'll arrive in approximately 6 weeks. Blackwell frowned. "That's impossible. Even our fastest ships would take decades to travel that distance. They have technology far beyond ours," Allison explained. "Faster than light travel is common for them." Earth prepared for first contact. The United Earth government built a special meeting facility on the moon. Military forces went on high alert. Dr. Catherine Doyle, an expert in non-Earth life forms, joined Allison's team to prepare for face-to-face meetings. "What do they look like?" Catherine asked, studying the limited information they had received. "They haven't sent images of themselves," Allison replied. "They seem more interested in our biology than sharing details about theirs." The day finally arrived. The Zalaxian ship appeared suddenly at the edge of Earth's solar system. It moved faster than any human vessel, crossing the vast distance to Earth in hours instead of months. The ship was enormous, 4 miles long and shaped like a smooth silver spear. It dwarfed Earth's largest space station, making human achievement seem tiny and primitive in comparison. A small delegation of humans gathered at the lunar facility. Senator Mercer represented Earth politically. Commander Blackwell oversaw security. Doctors Wright and Doyle would handle communication and biological concerns. The Zalaxians sent a shuttle to the moon. It landed without a sound, its surface shimmering like liquid metal. The door opened, revealing the first aliens humans had ever seen. They walked on 2 legs like humans, but that's where the similarities ended. The Zalaxians stood over 7 feet tall, with thin bodies covered in short silver-blue fur. Their 4-fingered hands ended in short claws. Their faces had 3 large eyes, 1 central and 2 on the sides, above a small mouth with no visible nose. The lead alien wore an ornate silver covering that seemed to float slightly above its fur. It spoke, and a small device on its chest translated into English. I am High Ambassador Velex of the Zalaxian Concordat. We greet Earth and its colonies. Senator Mercer stepped forward. On behalf of the United Earth Government and all humanity, we welcome you to our system. The meetings lasted for days. The Zalaxians were polite but clearly viewed humans as curiosities rather than equals. They studied everything with their large eyes, taking samples and scanning human technology with devices that seemed magical. Your development is proceeding at an acceptable rate, Ambassador Velex told Senator Mercer. Though your biological design is inefficient and your social structure somewhat irrational. What exactly does that mean? Senator Mercer asked, trying to hide his offense. Simply that for a species with your limitations, achieving space travel is commendable. The ambassador's mouth formed what might have been a smile. Many similar species destroy themselves before reaching this stage. The Zalaxians offered limited technology exchange, medical knowledge, and improved solar power systems, but refused to share their advanced travel or weapons technology. Your species requires further development before such knowledge would be appropriate, Velex explained. They established an embassy on the moon and promised to introduce humans to the wider galactic community when Earth was ready. Their message was clear. Humans were primitives who needed guidance. After the Zalaxians returned to their ship, Commander Blackwell pulled Senator Mercer aside. This doesn't feel right, Blackwell said, keeping his voice low. They're treating us like children. They have technology thousands of years beyond ours, Mercer replied. Perhaps we are children to them. Blackwell shook his head. No, there's something else. The way they scanned our defenses, their interest in our resource deposits. They're not here as equals or even teachers. What are you suggesting? They're studying us like we study ants, Blackwell said, and people don't build ant farms out of kindness. As they spoke, the Zalaxian ship hung in Earth orbit, its silver hull reflecting sunlight onto the blue planet below. Inside, Ambassador Velex sent a private message to the Concordat leadership. Assessment complete. Sol system suitable for Phase 2 operations. Humans pose no significant threat. 2 years passed since the Zalaxians arrived. Their embassy on the moon grew into a small city. Humans learned they were just one small part of a vast interstellar community. Frank Cooper adjusted his formal suit and took a deep breath. As Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, he carried the hopes of humanity on his shoulders. The Zalaxian transport ship would reach the Council homeworld in minutes. Remember, Ambassador, said the Zalaxian guide beside him. Speak, only when addressed directly. The Council has graciously agreed to hear Earth's petition, but patience is expected from developing worlds. Frank nodded but felt a flash of irritation. Everything about the Zalaxians suggested humans were lesser beings. Even after 2 years of peaceful exchange, they treated humans like clever pets. The ship slowed as it approached an enormous space station. The structure was beautiful, a spinning wheel of silver and glass larger than Manhattan. Ships of various designs moved around it like fish in a coral reef. Welcome to Junction Prime, seat of the Galactic Council, the guide announced. Frank's mouth fell open. The station housed representatives from hundreds of worlds. Some aliens looked almost human. Others were so strange Frank could barely understand what he was seeing. Clouds of vapor contained in force fields, crystalline beings that hovered above the ground, creatures that seemed more plant than animal. The council chamber itself was a vast hall with 7 massive thrones arranged in a circle. Each throne held a representative from what Frank learned were the major species, the 7 civilizations that controlled most of known space. The Zalaxians occupied one throne. The others belonged to species with equally unpronounceable names. Hundreds of smaller seats surrounded the thrones, filled with representatives from minor species. Frank was led to a tiny platform at the very edge of the room. The council recognizes Earth's observer, announced a large insect-like being from the central throne. Its voice boomed through a translator. You may present your petition. Frank stepped forward and spoke clearly. The people of Earth thank the Council for this opportunity. We seek full membership rights and equal trade status within the galactic community. Murmurs and clicks filled the chamber, the insect being raised a claw for silence. Earth is classified as a Class 3 developing world. You have limited spaceflight capability and have only recently discovered faster-than-light communication. Full membership requires at least Class 1 status. The Zalaxian representative spoke next. We have guided Earth for only 2 years. While their progress is notable for their biological limitations, they require at least 50 more years of oversight before consideration for Class 2 status. Frank tried to hide his disappointment. May I ask what criteria determine these classifications? Technological advancement, genetic stability, resource management, unified planetary governance, and threat assessment, replied the insect being. Your species shows promise, but remains inefficient and dangerously unpredictable. The meeting continued for hours. Frank realized with growing frustration that humans had no real voice here. Every suggestion he made was politely dismissed. The Council debated whether Earth should be placed under protective oversight or allowed limited autonomy, never asking what Earth's people actually wanted. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Captain Olivia Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Discovery, Earth's first ship equipped with faster-than-light drive using Zalaxian technology. The vessel was small by alien standards but represented humanity's greatest achievement in space. Approaching Centauri Prime, Captain, reported her navigator. Olivia nodded. Take us into standard orbit. Let's say hello to our neighbors. This was humanity's first diplomatic mission to another inhabited star system. The Centauri species had achieved spaceflight around the same time as humans but remained confined to their home system like Earth. The Centauri welcomed the human delegation warmly, too warmly, Olivia thought. They seemed desperate for contact with another minor species. The Council races control everything, explained Kel, a Centauri official during a private dinner. They decide which technologies we can develop, which resources we can mine, even how many ships we can build. They claim it's for our protection, added another Centauri, but we've seen developing worlds stripped of resources when they discovered something valuable. Olivia frowned. The Zalaxians told us they came to help humanity join the galactic community. Kel made a sound like bitter laughter. They said the same to us 40 years ago. We're still waiting. Be careful, humans. The Council doesn't want equals. They want subjects. On Earth, Dr. Nathan Edwards worked in a secure laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains. As Earth's leading physicist on alien technology, he had spent months studying the outdated faster-than-light drive the Zalaxians had shared. This makes no sense, he muttered, examining the equations on his screen. Lisa Parker looked up from her workstation. As an intelligence officer assigned to monitor Zalaxian activities, she worked closely with Nathan's team. What doesn't make sense, she asked. Nathan pointed to his screen. The Zalaxians claim this is their old drive system from 300 years ago. But the power converter uses quantum principles they told us they only discovered 50 years ago. Lisa joined him at the screen. You think they're lying about the technology's age? I think they're deliberately giving us flawed designs, Nathan replied. There's no way this system could achieve the speeds we've seen their ships reach. They're holding back the real technology. Lisa's face grew serious. That matches other intelligence we've gathered. Zalaxian visitors have been scanning our defense systems and mapping resource deposits worldwide. They show particular interest in our heavy metals and water supplies. But why? Nathan asked. If they wanted our resources, their technology is advanced enough to take them. Maybe they're waiting for something, Lisa suggested. Or preparing for something. Her communicator beeped before she could continue. The message made her face pale. What is it? Nathan asked. New intelligence, Lisa whispered. Our deep space monitoring station picked up energy signatures. A large fleet of Zalaxian ships is gathering at the edge of our solar system, far larger than any diplomatic mission would require. Nathan stared at her. How many ships? Over 50, including what appear to be military vessels. Outside the laboratory, storm clouds gathered over the mountains. A soft rain began to fall, unaware that the fate of Earth hung in the balance of decisions made light years away. Inside the Zalaxian embassy on the moon, Ambassador Velek sent a simple message to the approaching fleet. Begin Phase 3. Resistance expected to be minimal. 5 years had passed since first contact. Humanity had built a small fleet of ships using modified alien technology. Earth scientists made surprising progress with the limited tech the Zalaxians shared, often improving upon the original designs, in ways that puzzled the aliens. General Ryan Phillips stood on the bridge of the defense station orbiting Earth. At 53, his hair had gone completely gray during his years as Supreme Commander of Earth Defense Forces. The weight of protecting 7 billion lives kept him awake most nights. Status report, he ordered, watching the main screen with narrow eyes. 57 Zalaxian vessels at the edge of the system, sir, replied his second-in-command. They're not responding to our communications, General Phillips frowned. The Zalaxians had withdrawn most of their diplomatic staff from the lunar embassy 3 days ago, claiming a cultural holiday. Now a battle fleet was entering the system without warning. Alert all Earth defense platforms. Bring our fleet to combat readiness. Earth's fleet was small, just 23 ships with reverse-engineered alien technology. Most were simple patrol vessels, with only 7 true warships. Against a Zalaxian battle fleet, they stood little chance. The main screen flickered, showing the face of a Zalaxian. Unlike the diplomats from earlier years, this one wore the markings of military rank. Attention Earth forces. I am Fleet Commander, Zorix of the Zalaxian Concordat. Your world has been reclassified as a resource acquisition zone. Your species will be relocated to designated habitation areas, while we extract necessary materials from your planet. General Phillips kept his voice steady despite his racing heart. This is a sovereign system. Your ships are not welcome here, without permission. Withdraw immediately. The Zalaxian made a sound that might have been laughter. Your permission is not required. The Galactic Council has approved this action. Resistance would be unwise given your primitive capabilities. The screen went dark. Phillips turned to his communications officer. Contact Dr. Victoria Howard. Tell her to activate SHIELD project now, not in the test phase we planned, and get me the president. In her underground laboratory, Dr. Victoria, Howard received the message with dread. The planetary shield system wasn't ready. The technology, adapted from Zalaxian designs, was supposed to undergo another 6 months of testing. Begin full activation sequence, she ordered her team. Divert all power to the main emitters. Around the world, 37 massive towers began to hum with energy. They were the result of human ingenuity, taking the defensive technology the Zalaxians had shared and completely redesigning it based on Earth's unique energy grid. In orbit, the battle began with shocking speed. The Zalaxian ships moved like silver predators, their weapons tearing through Earth's first line of defense in minutes. 7 human ships destroyed, thousands of lives lost in the opening attack. They knew exactly where to hit us, General Phillips realized with horror. They've been planning this for years. On Mars Colony, Governor Daniel Carter watched the battle data with growing anger. The colony housed over 50,000 people, mostly miners and scientists with their families. Now they were directly in the path of an alien invasion. Baichu, evacuation to the underground shelters, he ordered, and prepare our defense drones. The Mars colony had limited military capability, but they had something unique. Mining drones modified with experimental weapons designed by Dr. Nathan Edwards. The drones were small, fast, and virtually invisible to standard Zalaxian sensors. This is Governor Carter to all Sol colonies, he broadcast on the emergency channel. Earth is under attack. This is not a drill. The Zalaxians have betrayed us. Back, in Earth orbit, General Phillips executed a desperate plan. Instead of engaging the Zalaxian fleet directly, he ordered 3 ships to make a suicide run at the enemy's command vessel, while the rest of the fleet performed an emergency jump to prearranged coordinates near Jupiter. They'll think we're fleeing, he explained to his captains. but we'll be regrouping for a counterattack they won't expect. The 3 volunteer ships accelerated toward the massive Zalaxian dreadnought. Earth weapons barely scratched the alien vessel's shields, but the human captains had a different plan. They overloaded their engines, creating a massive explosion that temporarily disrupted the Zalaxian shields. In that brief moment of vulnerability, missiles launched from Earth's orbital platforms struck the dreadnought's propulsion system. The enormous ship began to drift, its lights flickering. The Zalaxian commander could not believe what his sensors showed. No minor species had ever damaged a concordate dreadnought before. It was supposed to be impossible with the level of technology Earth possessed. "Continue the attack," he ordered. "Begin planetary bombardment." As the Zalaxian weapons targeted Earth's major cities, Dr. Howard's shield system activated. Blue energy fields shimmered into existence over population centers. The shields were incomplete and wouldn't last long, but they bought precious time. For evacuations, Agent Jason Webb worked frantically at intelligence headquarters trying to understand how this had happened. As a counterintelligence specialist, he had been monitoring Zalaxian activities for years, but they had hidden their true intentions perfectly. "Sir," called one of his analysts, "we've intercepted internal Zalaxian communications. They attacked because they detected unusual radiation from Dr. Edwards' laboratory. They believe we've discovered principles that could eventually threaten their technological advantage." Webb's eyes widened. "So, this isn't just about resources. They're afraid of us." "It seems so, sir. They expected an easy victory due to their superior technology. They didn't count on our unconventional tactics." At Mars Colony, Governor Carter watched as the first Zalaxian ships approached. Standard procedure called for immediate surrender when faced with such overwhelming force. Instead, he launched all 300 mining drones at once. The small agile machines swarmed the Zalaxian vessels. Most were destroyed quickly, but some managed to attach to the alien hulls. There, they deployed Edwards' experimental weapon, a device that interfered with the exotic particles the Zalaxians used to power their shields. 2 Zalaxian cruisers suddenly found themselves vulnerable. Earth's defense platforms on Mars seized the opportunity, launching everything they had. One cruiser exploded in a brilliant flash. The other managed to retreat, trailing debris. The Zalaxian commander was stunned. This was not how minor species were supposed to behave. They should have surrendered when faced with superior force. Instead, the humans were fighting with primitive but surprisingly effective tactics, sacrificing their ships and people in ways the logical Zalaxians found difficult to predict. Back on Earth, in a secure bunker beneath the old United Nations building, President Grace Morgan addressed what remained of Earth's government. "Today we face the greatest threat in human history," she said, her voice steady despite the sounds of distant explosions. "The Zalaxians believed we would surrender. They thought us primitive and weak. They were wrong." She activated a global broadcast system, her words reaching every human settlement in the solar system. "They labeled us primitive. They thought we would bow down. They don't understand what happens when humans fight for survival. We will not be relocated. We will not be harvested. We will not surrender. We will fight." As if in answer to her words, General Phillips' fleet emerged from behind Jupiter's moon Callisto, beginning a daring counterattack that would become known as the Battle of Jupiter, the first major human victory in what would soon be called the Sol War. 6 months into what everyone now called the Sol War, humanity fought a desperate battle for survival. Earth cities lay in ruins, Mars Colony endured constant attacks, and millions had died. But the quick victory the Zalaxians expected had not happened. Admiral Linda Hayes studied the holographic map of the asteroid belt, her sharp eyes looking for any advantage. At 45, she had spent her life in Earth's space forces, but nothing had prepared her for leading a guerrilla war against an alien invasion. "The supply convoy will pass here," she said, pointing to a cluster of asteroids. "We'll hit them with everything we have, then scatter before their reinforcements arrive." Her officers nodded. They had learned the hard way that they couldn't win in direct battles. Their ships were too few and too weak, but they could strike fast, cause damage, and disappear into the thousands of asteroids and abandoned mining stations that filled the belt. The Zalaxians called these tactics primitive and dishonorable. They expected enemies to follow proper battle formations and engagement protocols. The human approach to warfare confused and frustrated them. On Earth, Dr. William Foster worked without sleep in the remains of what had once been Chicago. His underground lab hidden beneath the ruins of the city housed Project Prometheus, humanity's best hope for a weapon that could turn the tide. The energy alignment is still off, he told his team, pointing to the device in the center of the lab. We need another 15% efficiency to make this work. The project combined human innovation with reverse-engineered alien technology. It used principles the Zalaxians had dismissed as theoretically unsound because they didn't follow conventional galactic science. But Dr. Foster had discovered something the aliens had missed, a way to disrupt their shield technology by exploiting a fundamental flaw in its design. The Zalaxians rely too much on consistency, he explained to a visiting military officer. Their shields work perfectly against weapons they know, but they've used the same basic design for over 1,000 years. They never fixed certain weaknesses because they didn't think anyone could exploit them. Above ground, Sergeant Alan Bradley led his squad through the ruined streets. As head of Earth's resistance forces, he coordinated attacks against Zalaxian ground troops. The aliens had landed forces to secure key resource sites but found themselves fighting a war they weren't prepared for. Positions, Bradley whispered into his communicator. His people hid in the rubble waiting for the alien patrol to pass. The Zalaxians moved in perfect formation, their silver armor gleaming even in the dust-filled air. They carried weapons that could vaporize a human with a single shot, but they moved predictably, following the same routes and procedures every time. Bradley gave the signal. 20 resistance fighters fired from concealed positions. Special ammunition, developed from Dr. Edwards' research, disrupted the aliens' personal shields just long enough for conventional bullets to penetrate. Half the patrol fell before they could react. The resistance fighters were gone before reinforcements arrived, melting back into the ruins that had once been their homes. This scene repeated across every occupied area on Earth. The aliens controlled the open areas but never truly held any territory. In orbit, Director Samantha Cole worked with a team of hackers and communications specialists at the United Intelligence Directorate. Their ship, disguised as debris, maintained a silent orbit that kept them hidden from Zalaxian scanners. "I think we've got it," said her lead technician. "We've isolated their command frequency." Cole nodded. "Show me." For months, they had been analyzing Zalaxian communications, looking for patterns and weaknesses. Now they had managed to break into the aliens' supposedly secure network. What they found shocked them. They're arguing among themselves, Cole realized, reading the translated messages. The Galactic Council is divided over this invasion. 3 council species consider the Zalaxian action illegal. This was valuable intelligence. If the Zalaxians faced political pressure from their own allies, it might force them to limit their attacks or even withdraw. Even more important was the discovery that Ambassador Frank Cooper had escaped the Galactic Council station. Now hiding on a frontier world, he had established contact with representatives of other minor species who suffered under Council rule. Cooper is forming a coalition, Cole told President Morgan during their secure communication. 17. Non-Council species have pledged support for Earth. They can't send military help yet, but they're disrupting Zalaxian supply lines and sharing technology the Council denied us. President Morgan received this news in her mobile command center. The United Earth government operated from a constantly moving location to avoid Zalaxian detection. "Can we contact Cooper directly?" she asked. "Not yet, but he sent us technical data that Dr. Foster says will help complete Project Prometheus." The president nodded. "Send everything to Foster immediately." With the new information, Dr. Foster made rapid progress. 3 weeks later, he sent the message everyone had been waiting for: Prometheus ready for testing. At a secret facility in the Australian outback, one of the few areas largely ignored by the Zalaxians due to its limited resources, Foster's team prepared for the first full-scale test of their weapon. Admiral Hayes coordinated her forces to draw Zalaxian attention away from Earth. Sergeant Bradley's resistance fighters increased their attacks on Zalaxian ground forces, and Director Cole's team flooded Zalaxian networks with false information about human fleet movements near Neptune. The distraction worked. When the test began, only a single Zalaxian cruiser was close enough to detect it. The ship moved to investigate, the unusual energy signature coming from the Australian desert. "Target locked," said Foster's weapons officer. "Firing Prometheus." The device looked simple, a silver disc barely 3 feet across, but when activated, it sent out an invisible pulse of energy that struck the Zalaxian cruiser. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship's shields flickered and died. Its engines shut down. It drifted, powerless, in Earth orbit. "It worked," Foster whispered, staring at the readings. "It completely disabled their systems." The implications were enormous. The Prometheus device didn't just disable shields, it disrupted all Zalaxian technology by exploiting a fundamental flaw in their power systems. A flaw they had never corrected because they considered human scientists incapable of discovering it. News of the successful test spread through human resistance networks. For the first time since the war began, people dared to hope. Humanity had a weapon that could fight back against their technologically superior enemy. In her command center, President Morgan received the report with fierce satisfaction. "Begin mass production immediately and prepare our remaining fleet. It's time to take back our solar system." The Zalaxian commander, faced with the unexplained loss of a cruiser and increasing resistance, sent an urgent message to the Concordat. "Human resistance exceeds all projections. Request immediate reinforcements." The reply came swiftly. "Reinforcements approved. Complete resource extraction with all necessary force. These primitives must be shown their place in the galactic order." They still didn't understand. They still thought of humans as primitives. It would be their final mistake. 1 year into the war, humanity had united as never before. Old rivalries between nations and planets disappeared in the face of extinction. Earth forces fought alongside colonists from Mars and Europa, using tactics and technologies that constantly evolved. President Grace Morgan addressed the Emergency Council of Military and Civilian Leaders. Her once black hair now showed streaks of gray, but her eyes burned with determination. "Project Prometheus is ready for full deployment," she announced. "We have manufactured 200 devices. The time has come for our counteroffensive." The leaders nodded. Everyone understood the stakes. In the year since the Zalaxian attack began, Earth's population had fallen by nearly 1 billion. Entire cities had been destroyed. Mars Colony existed mostly underground now, its surface facilities in ruins. Fleet Commander Stephen Rodriguez studied the battle plans. At 38, he had risen from captain to commander of Earth's rebuilt fleet after most senior officers died in the early days of the war. "We'll need perfect timing," he told the council. "The Prometheus devices only work at close range. Our ships must get near enough to deploy them without being destroyed first." Chief Engineer Benjamin Wallace stood up. The young engineer had designed the new Wolf-class stealth ships that gave humanity a fighting chance. "The stealth technology will hide our approach," Wallace explained. "The Zalaxians still can't detect our new hull configuration. We can get close enough." President Morgan nodded. "Begin the operation in 48 hours, and may God help us all." As Earth prepared its offensive, Ambassador Frank Cooper worked tirelessly on the diplomatic front. On a distant world called Nerix, leaders from 17 minor species gathered in secret. The Zalaxian attack on Earth violated galactic law, Cooper told the assembly. Yet the council did nothing to stop it. This proves what many of us have suspected. The council exists to maintain the dominance of the 7 major species, not to protect the rights of all. A representative from a gas giant species spoke next, its words translated through a special device. "For centuries, we have been denied technologies that would allow us to compete. Earth has shown that resistance is possible. Together, we can change the balance of power," Cooper continued. "The Alliance of Independent Worlds begins today." Zara Mitchell, Earth's representative to the new alliance, worked with Cooper to coordinate their efforts. Through secret channels, She presented evidence of Zalaxian war crimes to sympathetic members of the Galactic Council. The evidence was damning. Recordings of civilian population centers being bombed, proof that the Zalaxians had planned the invasion years before claiming Earth was a threat, violations of dozens of galactic laws. 3 council races formally denounced the invasion. They couldn't openly oppose the Zalaxians, but they began providing covert support to Earth, technical data, intelligence about Zalaxian fleet movements, and safe passage for Alliance ships through their territories. The day of the counteroffensive arrived. Commander Rodriguez led 50 ships toward the main Zalaxian fleet orbiting Earth. Among them were 30 of Wallace's stealth vessels, each carrying multiple Prometheus devices. All ships, maintain stealth protocols, Rodriguez ordered. Hold, fire until we reach deployment range. The human fleet moved silently through space, their hulls absorbing rather than reflecting the Zalaxians' detection signals. It was a technology humans had developed on their own, using principles the aliens had never considered. Admiral Hayes coordinated a simultaneous attack from the asteroid belt, her ships emerging from hiding to strike at Zalaxian supply lines. On Mars, Governor Carter launched the colony's remaining defense systems to target Zalaxian ships in orbit. The Zalaxian commander detected Hayes and Carter's attacks but dismissed them as desperate gestures. His attention focused on repelling these threats. He failed to notice Rodriguez's fleet approaching his flagship until it was too late. Deploy the Prometheus devices, Rodriguez ordered when they reached optimal range. The devices activated simultaneously, sending out waves of energy that cascaded through the Zalaxian network. Shields failed, weapons went offline, communication systems died. The mighty alien fleet hung in space, suddenly vulnerable. Earth ships launched conventional weapons at the disabled vessels. The Zalaxian flagship, a massive dreadnought that had seemed invincible a year ago, exploded in a brilliant flash of light. For a moment there was silence across all communication channels. Then cheers erupted from every human ship and settlement. For the first time, they had achieved a decisive victory. But the war wasn't over. The Zalaxians, facing unexpected resistance and growing isolation in the galactic community, launched a desperate final assault on Earth's remaining strongholds. Fresh ships arrived from their home systems, pouring into Sol with orders to end the human threat once and for all. The battle raged across the solar system. Earth forces, bolstered by their recent victory but still outnumbered, fought with everything they had. The Prometheus devices worked again, but the Zalaxians had adapted, keeping their ships spread out to prevent the cascade effect. In her command center, President Morgan made a difficult decision. Prepare the ultimatum, she told her advisors, and ready all remaining Prometheus devices for simultaneous activation. Human scientists had discovered something the Zalaxians never anticipated. If all Prometheus devices activated at once, they would create a field that rendered Zalaxian technology permanently inoperable throughout the entire solar system. Any alien ship caught in the field would be stranded forever, unable to repair their systems or call for help. It was a desperate gamble. The field would affect some human technology too, though Earth engineers had been modifying crucial systems to withstand the effect. Through a secure channel, Morgan addressed the Zalaxian fleet commander. This is President Grace Morgan of Earth. You have 1 hour to withdraw all forces from the Sol system. If you refuse, we will deploy a weapon that will disable all Zalaxian technology in this sector permanently. The commander responded with threats. He didn't believe humans possessed such capability. Morgan sent him proof, detailed scans of the Prometheus technology and its theoretical effects. The data showed clearly that the threat was real. For the first time, fear entered the Zalaxian response. You would strand thousands of our people in your system, doomed to slow death. We offer safe passage out, Morgan replied. Something you never offered us. 1 hour. The choice is yours. 58 minutes later, the Zalaxian fleet began to withdraw. Humanity had won. In the months that followed, Earth gained recognition as a fully independent power. The alliance of independent worlds grew stronger, challenging the Galactic Council's dominance, and humans, once dismissed as primitives, became known throughout the galaxy for their innovation and determination. Dr. Allison Wright, who had first deciphered the alien message years ago, stood on the observation deck of the New Sol Defense Station, watching ships from a dozen Alliance worlds arrive for a diplomatic conference. They called us primitive because we didn't match their definition of advancement, she said to Commander Blackwell, who stood beside her. They never understood that our greatest strength wasn't in our technology, but in our diversity, our adaptability, and our unwillingness to submit. Blackwell nodded, looking out at the stars. They know better now. Beyond the station, Earth was rebuilding. Cities rose from ruins. The scars of war would remain for generations, but humanity had survived, and in doing so, changed the galaxy forever. These Alaxians had labeled humans primitive. They had thought war would bring easy victory. Instead, it had revealed the truth. Sometimes the most dangerous species are those with the most to lose and the greatest determination to survive.